just going to focus this entire video on that concept we went over at the midweek of choose me over everything. And I'm going to use treats for this specific one. So I just want to remind you that you can use, you know, for this particular style of choose me over, you could use food, you could use, you know, like I'm actually saying treats. You can use his own food as well, his dinner or his lunch or his breakfast, I'm sorry. You could use toys. You could use a bone or something, you know, anything that he really could be rewarded by, you can use. And then this is the same exact way you're going to be approaching stuff like strangers and dogs and other things that he gets worked up about. The only difference is that he won't be rewarded for those things. That's an expectation. We don't run at dogs and people, and you have to choose me over those things. So with the treats, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by throwing them out. I got some in my pocket right here. I'm hoping that we can get somewhere, not have all these cars driving by. Okay. So I'm going to throw this piece of food out, and I do want him to run at it. Come. But I don't want him to get to it. Good. Come. Here. I'm going to line them up. Alright? What I want you to make sure you're doing really in general all the time, even when you're not working them off of something specific, but just working them through the house or, you know, on a walk, is that your leash is as loose as mine. So it shouldn't be like this, really ever, unless you're trying to create pressure to communicate with him. It should always be like this, so that you can see what kind of choice he's going to make. So I'm going to walk towards the treat again, and he shoots right out. Jax, come. I'm going to give him the line, call him back to me. Here. Sit. Now, we didn't go over the here command at the midweek, because he wasn't there yet, and I might show you, sometimes he's resistant to go into it, so maybe in this video I can kind of show you how to help get him into that position. Let's go. So now he's paired up with me again. I'm going to start walking towards the treat, and he shot out. Good choice. That was a really good choice. Right? And so I like to go really slow and really test them. Come. Good. Because I really want to make sure that I'm not moving so quickly that I can't tell that he's shot out. You know, he's not as hyper and wild as he used to be, so it's not as obvious when he shoots out. Let's go. So I'm really going to test him. One of the things that I can tell that when he's no longer with me, come, is his forehead scrunches up super, 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 super tight. So this is kind of like a moderate prey drive for him. You know, he's fixated, but it actually cinches up even more. So that's sometimes a cue for me to back up and call him out of it. Let's go. See that scrunch? Like he's not with me. See? And I back up and he's not even following me. Also ground sensing. You know, the treat is on the ground, so he wants to look for it. direct sunlight and you can see what we're doing without a bunch of shade interfering. But then at the same time, I have to like constantly redirect off cars. It's quite annoying. Let's go. All right. So that last one was a really good, like he didn't try to ground scent or like dart forward or anything. So that would have been a really good time to give him the treat. See, and it's like, even though he's not necessarily shooting way forward, he's ground scenting because he's looking for the treat. Come. Good. And I think, you know, when you're testing him, it doesn't hurt to test him just to test him, right? Like, you really want to make sure he's with you. This is good. Nope. Yes, good. So I'm going to reward this because he kind of self-corrected here. Okay, go get it. Good job, buddy. But you really might test him because when you really start testing him, you start to realize that when you back up, he doesn't back up with you. Place. Sit. And that's always a cue. The dog isn't with you when you back up and they're like, I'm still scenting and looking for it. I don't care that you're not with me anymore. You know, so that's not him choosing you. That's him, you know, coming up with his own devices. Let's go. Now, if you're going to do this with something that gets him a little more exhilarated, like a toy, I would ask that after he gets it, you give him a bit of time to celebrate getting the toy and then putting him on place and letting him calm down. Kind of like mixing this concept with the contrast building that I sent you yesterday of the play video. So I'm going to do this again. Jax, come. Good, buddy. Again, like really, really loose leash because you need to make sure that you know what decision he's making. Come. Really scrunched forehead, so I'm going to test that out. Boom. He doesn't come with me. See? So it's really like a lot of people that I work with when they do this activity over here, I feel like they get more concerned about just getting to the treat and getting the activity over with. And that's not actually what it's about. It's about really, really slowing down and testing the brain to see if it's with you or not. Come? So the more you test and turn and all that, the better. Come? Boom, not with me. Come? And you notice the other thing I'm kind of doing more of, instead of the let's go, is the recall. Over here. Come on. I really think he benefits more from that recall than he does the let's go. Good. Come. Really, he almost got that one. Come. So as I get closer, I don't extend my line as much because I really don't want him to get it without getting permission. Good choice. Good, buddy. That time was great because he almost went through with that impulse of prey drive, but when I backed up, he automatically backed up with me. Come. Jax, come. Good. That was Leah. You saw Leah. Still very like, oh my God, do I know that person? You know, still has that intensity. Come. Good. Here. Good job, Jax. as I get closer, yes, let's do some plates. But what I don't do is shorten it so much that I'm forcing them to place. So like, I like to always kind of explain what I see from clients and why it's not good. But you know, typically it's they got up to the treat, but their leash was taut the whole time. So the dog is like, you know, didn't really ever choose them over the treat as much as the human forced it and then rewarded it because their leash was taut the whole time. So my leash is shorter as I get closer to the treat, but it's still like this. And I'm not going to get to the point where he can get it if he takes this leash. So it needs to be short enough that he can't get it, but long enough so that he can act on impulse. That way I can really test to see that he chose me over the treat and I didn't force him to choose me over the treat. Let's go, buddy. So that's another thing that I see a lot of, is just really short leashes. You know, not testing the dog enough, not really making sure that they're really making sure that he is doing it on his own, and we're just giving him little bits of information here and there versus you know, walking with him 10 feet and he's been in prey drive and not with you the entire time, or a really short leash where he's forced in position instead of choosing that position on his own. These are all things you have to be careful of. And I'm going to help you as best I can because the handling is hard, especially with a dog like Jax. Come. But it's really important because, you know, we really need, it'll resonate more if he's doing it himself and just following the directional cues that we're giving him versus either forcing it or not challenging him enough to the point where we're not actually seeing or understanding that he's not with us, that he's been trying to look for the treat the whole time. So I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to call it. You know that? Another leash handling tip is to get the leash, you know, get your handle in your hand so it's always there. You go get the net. Let's go. So you got your handle in your hand so the leash doesn't fall out, and then you've got this other part of the leash ready to throw out so that when he goes to go after the treat, the leash can go out real quickly. Come. Good. That helps with leash handling. Over here. Good, buddy. I will kind of like, just to warn you, let you know that Jax requires a lot of repetitions. Come. So you have to prepare yourself for that because a lot of the times owners see what I saw at the beginning. They'll see it when the dog first comes home. And that is that he is very high prey drive, so he's very impulsive as a result, which means I end up having to do a lot of repetitions over and over and over again to get this point across. And now we're not really working off the treat, we're working off the dog in my yard. Here. Sit. Hey. Sit. Get it. I'm going to finish here and then take this moment to work him off this dog real quick. So it's kind of a nice opportunity because I'm going to switch from a reward-based choose me over to a no, we just don't do that. This is your expectation is to not fixate on other people and dogs or you know, anything. Come. Good. Here. tiny windows of place, Jack's choosing me over this dog that's hanging out in my yard right now with Leah. So I'm just doing this over everything, you know. I'm doing it over dogs, I'm doing it over any of the prey animals that are around my property, people, any opportunity I have, I work him off of something, and the end goal is choose me over, you know. The more you do this, the more relevant you become, and then eventually the pack drive starts to get higher and higher and higher to the point where they see a dog, and instead of impulsively wanting to run at it, they check in instead, or just stay with you. So that's the end result. And I think that setting things up like this, you know, if you're starting to go, okay, well, how is this going to look when he comes home, which most people do, it's like, I'm actually sending you all the videos of what I want you to be working on. So these repetitions are going to prepare you for when you see a dog and a person and he's maybe a little bit more worked up than you'd like. The repetitions are very challenging and they require pretty precise timing. So when you're doing it off of a treat, it's a lot easier to get the repetitions ingrained in your brain and get yourself into the habit of it versus doing it only off dogs and people, where a lot of my clients are very nervous about doing it off of dogs and people. So it's a lot easier to set yourself up doing this type of stuff off of treats and toys and stuff so you can get the repetitions in and he can get the concept down. You know, it's like, oh, okay, like I remember we've done this off of toys and treats before. I know what this is. I'm supposed to choose you over the dog, you see? So this is just a little window of opportunity for you to challenge him, work his brain, switch his drives, build relevancy, but it's actually going to pay off when you get into situations where you need to work him off of something that he's reacting towards or moving forward towards without permission. So, you know, thinking about a schedule and what kind of activities you're going to provide for him, I'm going to encourage you to do this type of stuff, as well as the play video I sent you and the long line work that we've been working on. I would end on place and just kind of try to create some calmness, some stillness, especially if you're doing toys. Sit down. Especially if you're going to be working him off of toys and he's going to end up getting a toy after he's chosen you. So I keep my sessions nice and sweet. This is, you know, I worked him for a few minutes before I started the camera, so I think that we're good. Even though he's not exhausted, I've got a good, I feel like we have a good moment to end on here, so I'm going to go ahead and end it.